The broadcast is now starting. All attendees are in listen-only mode.
Good afternoon. My name is Alberto Macedoto, and I will be your presenter for today. Welcome to NextRev's weekly Power Hour series. Today we're going to be customizing your Creo session. This is a very commonly asked for Power Hour. It's been almost 2 years since we've done it, so I think maybe we should do these a little more often. Again, these are customer-driven presentations, so if you wish that we did have these more, please go ahead and send us some feedback. And if you'd like to see something else, these Power Hours, we try and focus on your needs, so that's what we try and do here. Before I get started, should we run into any audio or video problems, please go ahead and type that into the chat or questions box on your GoToMeeting interface. I'll be stopping periodically to make sure that we aren't having any audio difficulties, but normally things go fairly smoothly. So today we'll start off a little bit about NextRev, moving on to some of our Power Hours, both our older ones that we've archived as well as some future ones, and onto some of the NextRev instructor-led courses. Then we'll dive into the meat of the presentation, which is going to be the customizing your Creo session, some of the pain points, and ultimately why you would do it, and then diving into the demonstration. Finally, we'll finish up with the recap, where I will give some time for a little Q&A. So NextRev has been working with PTC for over 12 years now. We have over 75 years. I think that's 50 there, but we've expanded there. We've over 75 years of technical expertise here at NextRev, and we focus on anything that PTC sells, such as Windchill, PDM Link, PDME, Creo Parametric, Creo Elements Direct, formerly Co-Create. We also pride ourselves on our local coverage. We have offices both in Southern California as well as the Pacific Northwest, and our headquarters is in Santa Clara. Some of the Power Hours we've had in the past, actually all the Power Hours we've had in the past, are archived onto YouTube. This is a private channel for NextRev customers, so if you'd like to have access to the YouTube channel, please reach out to us, and we will make sure that we send you the proper link to the YouTube channel. As for future Power Hours, those can be found on nextrev.com/training/Power Hours, and there is a dash between Power and Hours. We typically will have at least 1 week in advance. Ultimately, we have done the entire quarter. It really depends on the questions and feedback that we get from the Power Hours as to what we have. So some of the ones that we'll have in the future are going to be flexible modeling, productivity with Sketcher, and even Creo Simulate. The courses that we offer here at NextRev can be seen at nextrev.com/training. You can also access these classes from PTC's website. Please note that just because a class may not appear to be offered does not mean we do not have that class. It simply means that it is not on our schedule, but if you are interested in a specific class, for example, you want to know about Creo Elements Direct, and you do not see it on our training calendar, please reach out to us and let us know. We can definitely run a class for your company. Should you have a need for a combined class, such as an Intro to Creo Parametric, a advanced drawing class, as well as advanced assembly, right there we're talking about over 2 weeks of training, and that's a long time to take an engineer away from work. So what we also can do is combine courses so that we focus specifically on what your company needs. We can only do that, however, if it's solely for your company, but we are more than happy to do so. Why would you customize Creo? The best answer to that would be how often I see people clicking through Creo to do the same thing over and over. For example, you launch Creo, it is by default not full screen. So the action of going to the top right of Creo, clicking on the maximize button, is a task that you do not need to do. It is a repetitive task. You do this every single time you launch Creo. It is not necessary. There are configurations for these. Even with Creo, you may have noticed that the sketcher will default to sketching in a 3D plane. People don't like, many people do not care for that, especially if you've been using Wildfire 5 and older in the past. There is a configuration to set that so that it is by default normal to your screen. And probably one of the biggest complaints I get is the background's white. It's too bright. I've changed the background color. I restart Creo. It's gone. We'll see how to actually set this up. We want to set Creo up so that the minute you launch it, the tools you need are there and the interface is set up in such a way that it's comfortable to use, comfortable to look at. This will dramatically reduce the amount of errors and fatigue. We're also going to, by default, just increase engineer productivity because you're not going to be searching for things all the time. You don't always have to set your sketching plane normal to the your line of sight so that every single time that you go to a sketch, these are all features that should be done automatically, and that's what we're going to set up right now. There are a few types of Creo files that you should be familiar with. If you've been using Pro Engineer for a extended period of time, many of these are going to be very familiar. Config.pro, your tree config, these have been around for many, many years. The config.pro is effectively your main config file. This is where Creo looks and in some cases uses the config.pro to point to other config, like the tree.config, the system colors, and Creo parametric.ui. Without further ado, let's begin the demonstration. I do want to make sure that we are not having any audio or video problems. It looks like everyone is doing well. So if you are new to the Creo interface, let's just take a moment and kind of navigate around just a little bit here. So everything is going to be grouped by the type of function that it is. So the Model tab will have operations available to the model in assembly mode. View will group anything view related, such as layers, view states, visibility, appearances, cross sections, the view manager, and the analysis tab will group all the analyses together. The types of measuring can be done under the measure summary tool, and we'll see that there are little drop downs within the actual tabs in the groups. Groups are denoted by these vertical bars. So here is the inspect geometry group. We can expand that. And this is the inspect geometry group overflow. Anything in this group can be removed and placed into the main group. And anything in the main group can be removed and put into the overflow group. That's the first thing I'd like to talk about. So clicking anywhere, right-clicking anywhere in the ribbon or in the quick access toolbar on the top left will give us this dialog box. This is a standard right tap. This is not a right click and hold. What we can do here is a few things. I can customize the quick access toolbar. Now you may have noticed I clicked in the ribbon. That's okay. The reason why this is available is because we can right click on something and add it to the quick access toolbar. Now I have my draft analysis in the quick access toolbar. I can also right-click on it there and remove it from the quick access toolbar. It does not take it out of the group. It simply makes it more accessible should you often have to check for global interference or for a tolerance. So I'll right-click and I'm going to say customize the quick access toolbar. The quick access toolbar, again, is the toolbar on the top left, and the first basic thing we can notice is it's going to default to items that are in the design assembly in the model tab. So these are all items that exist currently in the model tab. And I can add them to my quick access toolbar. For me, I'd like to look at all commands, but more importantly, maybe commands not in the ribbon. One very common people like tend to be map keys. We can even add model colors. I'll click on the little add. It'll put it up here at the top. And we can simply point it downward to specify its location. Now, I can hit OK here, but we have not saved anything, nor have we even created a Creo customization.ui file. That is the file type created when you want to save a configuration. So we'll right-click again, customize the quick access toolbar. We are going to go to Import Export, export all ribbon and quick access toolbar customizations, go to your startup directory, and save it there. Here is mine for Creo Parametric. Clearly one exists as well for Creo Direct, should you have Creo Direct. If you do not save it, Creo will not pull it back in later on. Now, note that this is in my startup directory. Just a little side note here, my startup directory is its own folder. Oftentimes people use the default startup directory, which is the documents folder here, and it creates a catastrophe within the documents folder. To do that, we can basically navigate to our shortcut, select it, right-click, go to Properties, and you are going to paste your startup directory right there. If you have not created your startup directory, please create a startup directory first and then copy its location from Windows Explorer. Copy its location here, and you'll see that everything is being saved into the startup directory. This makes the documents folder much, much tidier. Okay. So now that we've saved our Creo customization.ui file, what else can we do with it? Well, we have to reference it. Before we do that, let's continue to modify this. We've done the quick access toolbar. Let's modify the ribbon. Now the ribbon is set up into tabs and groups. So these are all the groups within a certain ribbon. Now, you cannot modify a tab itself. What we can do is we can add a new group within a tab. So I'm in the model group, or the model tab, and I've added a new group within that, and I can also rename that to demo. Okay, so there's my demo group. We see it exists right here. And now what we're going to do is we're going to continue to add stuff to the demo group. We'll do the associative topology bus. I'll add it. Now it's in the demo group. We'll do copy geometry. We will do an auto round tool. And this is too early. So we'll just pick a few here. Maybe we'll just do one more. Let's do resume all. Okay. Hit OK, and now we've got our own little group here under model. Now notice how resume has this little ball next to it there. If I'm doing the customize the ribbon, I can actually right-click on resume and change the button size. I can also copy the button image, and if I'd like to, I could actually paste the button image there. I could increase the button size, increase the button size, remove the button, just things, again, that we want to make it a little bit tidier. I can also right-click on something, and if I had, you also have the option to put something into the overflow or take it out of the overflow. So here I'm under components. I can go to maybe datum, right-click on curve. I'll just go over here. Let me get out of this first, actually. Hit OK there. Datum, right-click on curve, and move to group. Okay, same thing here. Right-click on relations, and move to overflow. So if you find yourself never using graphs, we can move to overflow. Again, we're simply here to make things a bit tidier. Now that we've modified our configuration, we're going to right-click, customize the quick access toolbar, and we would again go to import, export, and export. There's another way to get to this. File, options, and customize the ribbon, and customize quick access toolbar. Okay, same exact place, but here we simply went to File, do that again. File, options, and it takes us into the Creo parametric options. It is these two. So we've created a .ui file. Now we have to tell Creo, hey, you need to point to this .ui file to load it up. So we can find it. I'm going to search. We're going to type in, just type in custom. Okay. Make sure that you do have search descriptions available. I find it to be a little bit nicer to work with. As we scroll down, we're going to see load UI customization run directory. This means that it's just going to look up in the start directory if you have a .ui file. So if you say yes, close that, it will automatically look in the start directory for the .ui file. When you launch Creo, the UI will be updated. The next thing we'll talk about is going to be the background color. So while we're in Creo parametric options, let's go under system colors. And here we are going to go to graphics, background, gradient, pick the gradient, go to more gradient if you'd like to add, oops, pick an actual gradient, and here we can modify it. You don't have to have a gradient. I happen to enjoy that, so I'm going to cancel there if you want to save that. Now you can do whatever you want in the system colors area without exporting a color file to your startup directory. These colors will not be brought in. So we export it to our system colors directory. The custom color file exists here. Now we go back to configuration, go find color. Okay, system colors file. All right, we'll type that in and then browse to the file itself. This means it's not looking in the startup directory, it's just looking for a file path. But it's a good practice to put the system colors file in your startup directory. This way it's easily found. Okay. Now, the next thing we're going to update, this is very, very, very common. By default, Creo Parametric will not show suppressed objects in the model tree. So let's see how this works. Pick apart. Okay. And I am going to suppress. And notice this group here. I'm going to go to it's currently suppressed. I'm going to my tree filters and uncheck suppressed objects. That tree filters went away. I'm sorry, that suppressed objects went away. This is hugely terrifying in the fact that you should always see the files that you're working with. Here, they're missing, so we have to make sure that our suppressed objects are turned on. A good practice, if you're not working with models too enormous, is to have everything turned on. This will eliminate suppressed objects being invisible. They should always, always, always be visible. Once we've done this, go to Tree Filter, go to the Tree drop-down menu, the tools, excuse me, go to Save Settings File. We'll save it again to the MCAT folder, which is my startup directory, so save your tree.config. Go to File, Options, Find, type in Tree, Model Tree Config File. If you're concerned about all these config options I'm giving, don't worry. Toward the end of the presentation, I have 2 screens full of them. You can just use your screenshot tool and you will get all of these screens. Since we're talking about configurations, there are a few here that I find very, very useful. First off, Open Window Maximize. Let me get to the O's here. Okay. Open Window Maximize will require a restart of Creo. That's what the little computer to the left of that is. Open Window Maximize, when you launch Creo, will make the screen full size. This prevents you from going back and forth to hit the Maximize button every single time. Now, the downside to Open Window Maximize is that it is a hidden configuration on most builds of Creo. This means you must type in add open window. It finds it here because I already have it installed, but you have to type in Open Window Maximized and then yes as the option value. Another key one is the feature recognition tool. By default, the feature recognition tool, actually grayed out there, let me open up another part. The feature recognition tool is not brought in to Creo. Is not loaded into Creo the first time that you launch it. What you're going to have to do is set a config for FRT_enabled, and the feature recognition tool will then be active. The reason it's not automatically loaded is it can be top-heavy, and Creo is always concerned about memory usage. It wants to use as little memory as humanly possible. So go to File Options, Configuration Editor, and it is FRT enabled, and the value is yes. Enable pop-up help. This one's annoying. The little yellow dialog box you get when you launch Creo, you want that to go away. Set it to no. Hit OK. Yes. Overwrite your config.pro. Now when you restart Creo, that dialog box will go away. I'm often asked, why doesn't PTC have libraries? Well, they do. First things first, we have a basic library in my common folders area. This does not just appear mysteriously. File, Options, Configuration Editor, and go to the P's because we're looking for Pro Library Directory. With this active, it will search the library path and give you that file in the common folders area. Now, what you put in it is up to you. If I go to PTC's website, I'm going to do this right now from the start. We'll go to ptc.com. You have to have an administrative account with PTC. But you will be able to take that data that PTC has and use it to, in your library. So I'm just logging in right now. It's going to be under Support. You're going to go under Software Downloads. The placement here is a bit odd. Order or download software updates. This is why I like to mention this, because otherwise no one would ever find this. Creo Parametric Pro Engineer. And it's under, I believe, Release Wildfire. You're going to see Wildfire Library Databases. Basic, connector, electrical, symbols, etc. Graphics. Just because they're for Release Wildfire does not mean they will not work in Creo. They work fine in Creo. You would download these to your library, and there are your basic libraries. There's another way to do this with a nice interface, and you won't have to have that data locally. When you launch Creo, you're going to get a pop-up that appears. So I'm just going to launch it from the start right now. Your embedded browser automatically appears when you've got Creo launched. When it is open, it will have two web pages available to you. One of them is the Welcome to Creo splash page. The other one is your hardware. So we're going to navigate to the hardware page and show you all the different hardware options that we have. Give Creo a minute to launch here. And in case you're not aware of this, to expand or retract the web browser, it is the globe here on the bottom left. In the Wildfire series, it was the vertical bar. And the little model tree tab to the left of that will drop the model tree tab away as well. The caret here in the top left will minimize the ribbon. Double-clicking on the ribbon as well will also minimize or expand the ribbon. So when you first launch Creo, assuming you have internet connectivity, you're going to get this. There is a second tab called 3D Model Space. We're going to click on that tab, and here we have access to vendor parts. These are vendor parts that exist on vendor websites. PTC simply has shortcuts to all of them. So we'll go under Creo Standard Parts Library, select that, specify one of them. I'm going to hit OK here. And now we have a very nice interface to allow us to come in here, pick the parts we want, and download the specific iteration of that part. This requires nothing other than a web browser. The next thing I want to talk about are start parts. I get this very often. How do you change the default way Creo launches? I want it to launch always in the inch system. I want it to launch in the metric system. I want the orientations of the plane to be different. You don't. You don't change the way Creo launches. What you do is you change the start part. So your options, configuration editor, under the T's for template, it's a little bit bigger here, we have template design ASM. This, let's navigate to it. These are the templates that I reference when I'm using Creo. So we have the design assembly templates. It's under my folder templates, and I'm using the MMKS. For solid part, it's under the PTC Creo 2. So let's go there. Let's go to PTC Creo 2. Creo parametric. It's actually right here. Common files, M70. And you'll see T for templates, and these are all of your templates. By default, when you install Creo, this is what you will get. You can always point these to company templates, company start parts, company formats, etc. But by default, this is what you're going to get. If we want to point it somewhere, let's see here, we'll point our templates to a different part of the different folder. So I'll go under Browse. Go to MCAD, templates, and because we are looking at solid parts, I will pick a part file. Okay, make sure that you do pick a solid if you're looking for a solid. Hit open, and this is the part that we're looking for here now. We want to hit OK, and this will overwrite the config.pro. Now, the config.pro really isn't the most beautiful tool on the planet. However, up here, we have options and configurations that actually are your config.pro. It just has a nice interface for it. In this case, I've been told that people don't like sketching in 3D. So we can check this box, which will make the sketching pane parallel to the screen, hit OK, and it's saved. These, again, are config settings. In fact, this particular config setting is sketcher _ starts _ in _ 2D and has yes tied to it. I think we can all agree that a checkbox is much nicer than that hieroglyphics that we have to kind of rumble through. So now that we've set up the way that our parts open up, our assemblies open up, we've changed some of our drawing settings, maybe we should look at some of our formats. Okay, so here we have format setup file. This works the exact same way. Simply put your destination folder under value. There's another one in this folder down here. So we have template drawing, which will take us to, again, our drawing templates folder. You can always navigate to these as well when you're creating a new drawing. The last thing I wanted to talk about was the training material embedded into Creo. Now the little graduation hat here in the top left, if you have a PTC account, which typically you do, they are no charge, give it a moment, it is going to launch. And here I'm going to type in something a little bit more on the complex side. Maybe we'll do a variable section sweep. I'm going to type in variable and hit enter. Now what's happening, Creo is going to show us in the Help Center a little bit about the variable section sweep, but notice how e-learning is still loading. That's because it's scanning all of the available e-learning material to show us the demonstration on a specific kind of e-learning. We can hit play here. We can watch the tutorial. This one here is the wrong one, actually. This is variable pull draft. But nevertheless, we are going to see a demonstration in real time of the feature that we looked for. Now I can also expand to show more, and here we're going to see sweeps with variable sections. I'm going to click on that, and this will promptly launch a web browser to show us the sweeps in Creo Parametrics e-learning so that we can very, very quickly, very, very easily get to the training material that we've been looking for instead of spending a tremendous amount of time having to navigate the e-learning web page and search for a specific type of e-learning material. And again, all I did was click on the little graduation hats right here, and you will have to log in using your PTC account. If you have e-learning, you will have access to the tutorial and e-learning material as well. If not, we can come down over here, go show more, keep looking for sweeps. Probably going to have quite a few here. Let's do the materials here. At which point you will be asked to log in. And then we can blame Firefox for being bad. There we go. So you'll get this little dialog box here, which will tell you basically what they mean. They are not training, they are more of tips and hints on how to get the material, on how to get the tool to operate. Okay, and again, that is just the little graduation hat. At this point here, get your screen capture tool ready. So we're going to cover all of this. We talked about customizing the interface. Right-clicking on the ribbon or right-clicking on the Quick Access Toolbar will bring you into the Creo Customization dialog box, which will allow you to modify the interface. Remember, you must save the Creo Customization.ui file to your startup directory and then add a config.pro line item that will point to that startup directory to load the file. Your system colors, we talked about having the background colors change, and then when you reboot Creo, they're gone again. We have to change the background color, export the system colors file, which is syscol.scl, export it typically to the startup directory, search for system colors file in the config.pro, and point to the file in particular. The configurations, when searching, click on Find, and make sure that you check the Search Descriptions box. Also, the group on the top left here is a nice interface for the config.pro. Whatever you specify here will go into your config.pro. Here are some basic configurations that you might find useful here. So we have your screen capture tool. Snap a screenshot of this. We have one more page as well. If you need more time to capture these images, just shoot a message to me and I will go ahead and pull this back up at the end of the presentation. I did want to show this slide as well. Okay, this may be a good screen to snag as well, as this shows you some of the basic configurations that the config.pro is pointing at. Libraries. We navigated to PTC's software downloads page to get the library information. You will need to have an administrative account on PTC's site in order to do so. We also use the 3D Model Connect to actually navigate to additional libraries that are on the internet using the embedded browser in Creo. The embedded browser in Creo will also take you to a number of sites. So if you're looking for a bearing or a bushing, electrical fittings, etc., it will allow you to navigate there. But lest we forget, many vendors also have their parts available to you as step files. And companies like McMaster-Carr will allow you to download hardware as step files also. So the libraries, we have the basic library option in the common folders area. You are going to have to specify the Pro library directory, and if you have multiple things like a texture as well, you'd have to specify Pro texture library. Again, use the search tool in Creo Parametric to search for library, or the find tool, excuse me, in the Creo Parametric to search for a library, and this will allow you to navigate or to find the proper configurations and point to the library. Drawing formats and drawing templates both require the proper config.pro for the format or for the template. Pro format directory is for the format, and template_drawing is for the drawing. Make sure that you use the find tool in the Creo Parametric config.pro search to search for the proper template, the proper configs, and then go ahead and add them and navigate to the files that you want. You can change templates when you're opening up creating a drawing. And we finished up with the e-learning. Okay, that is the learning connector with the little hat in Creo Parametric. You can do your searches in there, and it will automatically navigate you to the Help Center, the Knowledge Base, or e-learning. Well, thank you very much for joining us today on Creo's Power Hour. Nextrav's Power Hour, excuse me. If you have any questions, please go ahead and type them in the questions box right now. Okay, we have some questions. So bear with me. I have a little mini box that I have to actually navigate through. They're kind of a pain, so let me just go ahead and read these. Okay, this is a great one here. In Wildfire, the Sketcher palette would show a tab of saved sketches in the working directory. I can't find how to see them in Creo. Works the exact same way. You won't see them in Creo if you've got a Sketcher palette path predefined. So we go under File, Options, Configuration, Find, Sketcher palette path. So this works. You can create a Sketcher palette path to a specific folder that you want to have a tab appear in the palette. However, if you do not, if you want the palette to only pull in items that are in the working directory, you must delete this config. If you do not delete the config, it always looks somewhere else. So that still will work in Creo. It's a fantastic question. Okay, how does one check to see if one has access to the PTC library? So there are a couple of libraries. The library that I'm referencing here in the model tree is just a folder directory that Creo calls a library. If you do not have that folder library available, you're going to have to create it using the configs that we provided and then fill it with something. Otherwise, using the PTC product catalog, everybody has access to that. If you want to navigate to the PTC website and download those, you are going to have to be the administrator, and in that case, the only way to figure that out is if you know or if you navigate there and it does not allow you. Unfortunately, that's the best way to find out, is if it kicks you out. I have a question on what if I want both. Could I get a clarification on that? Oh, looks like that was already clarified. If you don't see the graduation hat, that's a new one. Wow, that's a fantastic question. I don't know. I always have my thought is you don't see the graduation hat, and this is probably a dumb answer. You don't see the graduation hat maybe because Creo is pushed over too far. Is that how it looks? Otherwise, if the graduation hat is not there, I would say that you don't have access to the internet, but if you're on the Power Hour, you do have access to the internet. It could be a build code, or let's go ahead and go to Options, and let's find Learning Connector. Maybe it's a config setting. Here we go. The Find tool is your friend. Here we go. Enable Learning Connector. Enable the Learning Connector which provides blah, blah, blah. Set value to yes. Most likely your value is set to no. Thank you for teaching me this because I've never actually decided to go there. So that should be your problem. If you are set to no by default, if the option isn't even there, sometimes Creo could construe that as no. So add Enable Learning Connector, search for learning, make sure you search for descriptions, set that to yes, and restart Creo. I hope everyone enjoyed this. If you have any questions, please go ahead and reach out. We can, do our best to go ahead and address all of your. Do our best to answer any of your questions. If you'd like to see some of our saved Power Hours, you are going to have to reach out to your sales representative. Otherwise, if you don't know who that is, send an email to sales@nextrev.com, and we will go ahead and that will be forwarded to your sales representative. So again, that is sales@nextrev.com. All right, thank you very much. Have a lovely weekend.